this is what we're gonna make today. So what is perspective anyway? Perspective, like it said in the definition, we are creating the illusion. This is obviously a flat piece of paper, but we're using different elements of art like line, shape, form, space, and color. That's what we're going to use in this one to create the illusion that we are in some kind of a aquarium. It's really long, it's really big, and it continues somewhere far, far away. How do we do that? Using those elements of art that I've just mentioned, we are using lines and shapes, different shapes, to divide our space and create the illusion of perspective. Right here, where all these lines converge, right here is called the focal point. We're learning about 1 point perspective. So we have 1 point that kind of disappears in the distance. We don't really know what exactly is happening back there, right? So what we are creating here by making our lines meet in the same spot, and also you can see the lines that I created over here, they're all parallel, right? All these lines are parallel, and they also, the space between them varies. So the lines here, if this is the center of our floor, you could see how they all converge, they all meet. All the lines meet at the center at our focal point. I'm going to repeat that a lot, so I apologize in advance. So we're doing all these things with color. We're making it darker down here, lighter down here, also making it look like it all is some further away. We're using size, form, right, and shape by making the fish that are closer, that are getting closer to the focal point, they are smaller, creating the illusion that they're further away. You see, this jellyfish is smaller than this one. It makes it look like this one is closer to us. All right? So we're creating different things. We're using different elements to make it look like, creating the illusion of perspective, making it look like it's like a long, big aquarium, when actually we're just using a two-dimensional surface. And also here with the plants that are further away from the focal point are taller. The ones that are closer are shorter. All right, and even the coral or whatever it is that is back here, you see it's smaller and also a lot blurrier than the ones that I have over here. So those are all things that we're going to use today to create our masterpiece. Hi everybody, so these are the materials we're going to start with. We have our Sharpie, pencil, and eraser, and of course your paper. I do have a ruler, but because my paper is a little bigger, it obviously doesn't reach the corner. So I'm going to use my very fancy, handy dandy sewing ruler. So what I'm doing right now, I am placing my ruler from one corner of the paper to the other, and I'm just going to do a line across. Okay, I'm now going to turn it and do the same thing on the other side, corner to corner, lining it up. Now what I'm doing is, and this is what you'll do from this point on, you're going to press, the point here is to kind of press a little bit on your ruler. So now I have an X. The next thing I'm going to do, I'm going to start doing the little walls of my aquarium. And I'm going to do this by doing a couple of things. Not only that I'm doing lines, vertical lines, as you can see, I'm also making they are parallel to the edges of my paper, but also the distance between them gets larger. And I think you can definitely see it here. So the ones that are closer to the center, to my focal point, are closer and shorter, and the ones that are furthest away, that are supposedly closest to me, are longer. So this is all these lines that converge into that one spot in the center is what we're going to do to create the illusion of perspective, as if we are walking in this tunnel and it's getting further and further away. So the next step is to, as you can see, we're making these arches, you can call them rainbows, and I'm kind of looking for the center to help me out a little bit to know how to do it. You can freehand it like me, or you can try to find something that is has a circular edge and use it. I find it harder to try to find something that matches and just do it myself. Again, I'm doing it faster and I'm doing it, it makes it look very easy. Just take your time and don't worry about it if it takes you a few tries. I'm actually going to add another little one. It's because I kind of feel that there's room, so I'm going to do that. All right. So I'm going to do some cleaning up, although I am going to erase everything. I just don't want that to distract me when I'm tracing. The next thing we're going to do is the floor. Again, as you can see, I'm lining up my ruler with that furthest point, with the focal point that I just did. And I'm just moving the ruler from the same, I'm starting at the center, but the bottom of my ruler is the one that is moving around. And I want those lines to, again, have the same distance from as both sides. So I started with the middle line and then I'm making those. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 lines. Now I'm lining up the bottom of my ruler with the bottom of the paper. And I'm going to make the little checkers that are going to be on the ground. So as you see, I'm actually making these lines, an easy way to remember it. Every time I'm passing one of the wall lines, I'm going to make a line for the floor. So you can see in a second, probably will be even easier when I do Sharpie lines. These lines for the floor are getting closer as I get to the focal point. Now what I have left is to trace it. I'm starting on the corners, and you actually want to make these lines thicker. I don't think I made them thick enough, the ones that are for the supposedly the ceiling. So I am going to shortly, here you go, make them a little thicker. And also I'm speeding it up so you don't have to sit here and watch me do these. So what I'm doing right now, just tracing all my lines. And yes guys, you do have to trace it with your ruler if you want to make it nice and straight. It would be a shame if you did it all with a ruler and then you're just gonna do it freehand. So here you go. So now I'm erasing all my lines. Easy breezy. Wow, I'm a quick eraser. Just kidding. So now we're gonna do the checkers on the ground. So I like to first outline my shape, and then after I outline it, I fill it in, and I'm not worried about getting outside the lines or anything like that. Cool. So I also like to mark, because we're skipping every other one, I'm going to mark it so I can just do it real quick and not have to stop or get confused or accidentally do another shape. So I'm just making a black mark on all the shapes that are going to be colored in with black. So I'm using my permanent marker and I'm just speeding it up, filling it all in until all the ones that I marked are done. So my floor is done. Now is the fun part of actually adding all the plants and animals that live in our aquarium. So I'm starting with sketching with my pencil, just some of the plants, and I don't know if you can see it because it's so light, but the plants are taller. when it's closer to the edges of the paper, and they are shorter when we get closer to the focal point. Now I'm adding some animals, and again, I'm sketching them first. It's a little harder, to tell you the truth, with tracing it and then getting rid of the pencil lines. If you feel confident and you know what animals you want, just do it with your pastels or with your pencil or crayons, whatever you're using today. I had a harder time erasing everything. So this is our friend the shark, and I am slowing it down because I'm guessing that a lot of you want a shark. And here you kind of could tell that it's a view from, so we're looking at the shark from the bottom. That's why we can see its belly. And we have the other animals, again, swimming around, different angles. It all adds to the perspective that we're trying to create. Now I'm going to start with coloring it all in. I'm going to start with the shark. I am going to add some other animals as we go, just because when I filled it in, I kind of felt like it was a little empty. So our octopus, again, some of his little tentacles are in the back, that's why we can't see all of it. So I'm just adding a few animals, a few other ocean creatures. Feel free to add whatever you want. So I'm starting to color it in, and we have done oil resist before, so I'm using, as you see, oil pastels, but you can use pencils or crayons. So we're doing a technique called resist. We have done it before. So what's going to happen, I am filling in all my shapes with oil pastel, and then do watercolor wash on top. What's going to happen is all the areas that have oil pastels on them are not going to absorb the watercolors, and it creates a really neat effect. Now, something important that I should say, if you want anything to stay white, you need to color it in white. I forgot to do it with the shark, but I did do it later, just before I did watercolors. So I'm speeding it up just so you can see how I'm finishing all the other animals. And look how the fish, the school of fish, the fish that are closer to the edge of the paper are larger. The ones that get close to the center of the paper are smaller. Again, we're adding to that illusion of perspective. I'm adding some plants, and I do like to use a shade, so I'm using the dark green, and then later on I'm using the dark green and I'm going to add the light green on top. So some coral, again, smaller when it's closer to the focal point, larger when it's closer to the edges of the paper. Now I'm adding the light green, and I just wanted to show you for the jellyfish that I have over here, I am using colored pencils because, like I think I already mentioned to you in our previous video, that they're all oil based. So pencils, oil pastels, crayons, they will all work doing this. So I just wanted to show you that it is going to work even if you have colored pencils at home. So I'm just adding a little bit. Again, you can add whatever sea creatures you like, whatever you think will look good, and think about how you want to view them. Are we looking at them from the bottom? Are we looking at them from the side? So those are things you want to take into consideration when you're adding them. So I'm gonna color in my octopus. Looks like a ghost octopus, doesn't he? Now this very big fish that is swimming away, we only see part of it. We can't see the face, or just see part of its body. Also, it adds to... Oh, now we're going to do the background. So I'm using my marker, my water-based marker. On top, And I need a cup of water and a napkin and a small brush. Now, what you can also, of course, use watercolors like these colors, but I just prefer, I find this one to be a lot more fun. So I am using a Ziplock type bag. You can also use foil. I am coloring with the blue, and actually later on I might add other colors. So wetting my brush, picking some of the blue and just starting to color in. And again, you can see here that I'm going over all the things that I drew in with pastels and colored in. They're not really turning very blue, they are still there. The reason is the technique we're using, the resist, is preventing the watercolors to get absorbed in the paper and the areas that we use the oil pastels. So I'm getting some more, and you see I can go on top of them. Now look how cool it's gonna turn out with the jellyfish. So a little bit of the blue got in some areas that did not have pastels on them, so it kind of made the jellyfish kind of see through. Super cool. So now I remember that I didn't do the white, so I'm adding the white. Make sure also, whatever creatures you do, make sure you add white if you want an area white. If I didn't do this, my shark's tummy would have been blue. I'm gonna keep going, and I like the color, but I do want to see a little bit more of a variation. So I am going to experiment with more colors. So you see I'm going over, I'm not worried about it covering. I can make some areas darker. So I'm adding more of the blue, but now I kind of feel like I need something else. So I'm going to do a little purple, a little green, just to make it kind of, you know, different. Why not? So let's see. I'm going to mix them. See what happens. Water. Ooh, I like that. So if you have different blue markers, you can also test that and see if it works. Why not? So I'm kind of making the center, again, the part that looks like it's further away from us, darker. So I'm adding a little bit more purple, and the bottom over there. I like it. Super cool. So I'm going to finish coloring my background, adding more water. Just touching up. Nice. I think I'm done. I'm just going to clean up a little bit. I have some blue that got in my white tile. And just wipe it off a little bit with a wet paper towel. And another thing from touching up that I want to do is go over some of the black lines. I did get some of them covered with the pastels. So I'm just going to go back and darken them. And let's see, right there. I think that's it. Just a few spots. All right, and we are done. Thank you for watching, everybody.